This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Welcome, everyone, to yet another episode of Diagnosing the Aftermarket A to Z. I'm Matt Fanslow, and no man goes before his time, unless the boss leaves early. That and more after a word from our sponsor, NAPA Autotech Training. Check out our NAPA Autotech Facebook page to find out the latest NAPA Autotech virtual class scheduled at a time that is convenient for you. Learn from the comfort of your home. I got an email from a local, we call it the alternative school, or Tower View, and it provides a pathway for students that high school or the conventional classroom, if you will, is just not going to work out for them. I don't even mean that judgmentally. It just, be it personality, be it life, the curveballs of life. This gives them a different means of acquiring, I believe, a GED. I probably shouldn't even say because it's really not that important, but they get either a diploma or a GED. And this gives them that means to do that. That's a little less conventional. It's proved to be quite popular. And I don't want to imply that it's just overflowing with students, but you get the gist. And I get an email from the director, if you will, and a couple of students are interested in perhaps getting into the automotive repair profession. And they asked if one of them can come down and job shadow for a day. And I thought that would be fine. He shows up. I guess I will say this somewhat critically, because it does blow my mind a bit. I'm not sure what goes through someone's mind. I also want to leave very much in the open, or leave very much an explanation / excuse in their favor. But he shows up. He is not dressed to work. And now, granted, he's there as a shadow, right? But I thought it was odd to wear sweatpants type things, like athletic pants. He did not look athletic, but it was that type of attire. Zip up jacket, light, very light, springish. And I'll tell you, he reeked of marijuana. I'm not implying that he was actually using. Maybe he was. In a discussion with the director afterwards, it was implied it could have been his parents. He needed a ride down and was dropped off, so it's not unreasonable. But man, it was just so pungent. I walked out, introduced myself, shook his hand, and right away shot him a look like, really? And maybe he can't smell that. Maybe if he grows up around it, maybe he can. I don't know how, but maybe. I found that disappointing, I guess. Again, if he is aware of it, I don't know what the solution is. Show up at the shop and then ask if he can use the restroom so he can change. Maybe, I don't know. Find someone else to give him a ride. Maybe he can't. I mean, it's the morning. People are working, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt and give him a tour of the shop. And I think he's blown away by the scope of what we do and what is done at the shop, from maintenance type work, tires, brakes, to the heavy line stuff and the equipment required to do that. Not just the hand tools, but the cradle lift, if you will, powertrain table, assortment of jacks and the media blaster, bead blaster, the aqueous parts washers, automatic parts washer, just for that. And then we get into the alignment machine, the alignment tools, then of course the diagnostics, right? Where now he's looking at stacks of laptops and interfaces, and I use medical carts as my diagnostic carts, if you will. A couple of those, and tablets, scan tool tablets or whatnot strewn about on counters being charged up, and explaining that for the most part, many of those are very specific, like they're manufacturer specific. This is only for GM. This is only for Ford. This is only for Nissan, and on and on and on. Just into the office with, I would say my office specifically which is set up for my attempts at module repairs and cloning, if you will. Again, I would never blow this out of proportion. It's a growing market, but I would not imply I do a lot of it. There's many people out there that do a ton of it. I am not even in it. Guys like Tommy Oliva with his business with SJ Auto Solutions, and I probably won't tell you where he lives. It's a very upscale part of the neighborhood, though. Gated community. Same with Pedro Delatorre. They just do way more than I do. And then there's others. But to see that and not have any idea about that, you know what I mean? Like, you have an idea of what auto mechanics do or automotive technicians do. And to see that there's people tearing into engines, taking transmissions out, doing the other stuff that you might even watch YouTube videos and think you can do yourself. And then all the investment to service these vehicles, essentially bumper to bumper. And he looked really taken aback. I mean, really taken aback. Wow. I interpreted it as interest. I took it as, wow, there is probably something here for everybody to get into. I took him around, introduced him to the techs, and thought he would start out shadowing a couple of our mechanical specialists. That he was free to bounce between really three of them, look, ask questions. They were all game to talk to him and explain what they were doing. I figured he could spend most of the morning doing that, and then the afternoon I'd probably take him more into my world, if you will. And honestly, one of my guys walks over to me and is he supposed to be shadowing us? Yeah. Oh, he's over on his, sitting down in the corner on his phone. I thought they were pulling my chain. I thought they were just messing with me, right? I went out there and sure as hell, sitting in the corner, sitting on his phone. And my initial thought was he felt like he was imposing or felt like maybe he was bothering them. That's what I thought. Went over and talked to him a little bit, and they weren't doing anything that he felt he could take anything from. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? In the conversation, it's almost like he wanted something that many of us took 5-10 years from being relatively small children to preteens, teens. I think he was looking to have that happen in 6 hours. From, I think, just he wanted to learn about cars. He didn't own a car yet, but he's hoping to learn enough that if he bought a car, he'd be able to do some stuff on it. I don't know about most of you, but if you had a background in some mechanical stuff, and I'm not saying a family member or family friend owned a shop, even if you were hanging out with grandpa, uncles, aunts, I don't know. I don't care who was doing it. They were working on a car, and most likely you were holding the flashlight. Probably wrong, too. You were also fetching tools. You were learning what tools were by fetching them. Go get me a Phillips. That's not a Phillips. That's a Torx. Go back and get me a Phillips. And then you might learn the hard way what a Phillips screwdriver is. And you might learn the hard way what a Torx or a flathead or a wrench, for a socket, 6-point versus 12-point, on and on and on and on. That's how you learned. And you were probably learning it when you were 6, 7, 8, 9. And he had none of that. That's not a bash. I'm not bashing on him about this. This is the world we live in. It explains this. Like, he was hoping to learn how to do some stuff on his car, a car he does not possess yet. He doesn't own yet. He hasn't bought one yet. And of course, the back of my head, this is absurd. You don't even know what you're asking. And yet therein lies the answer. You don't even know what you're asking. NAPA Autotech training sessions are being conducted day and night in a town near you. This training caters to every level within your organization, be it a mechanical assistant, a mechanical specialist, a technology specialist, or a driver safety calibration specialist. Imagine a one-stop shop training partner in NAPA Autotech that will lead your team to a path to greatness. Autotech's entry-level Build-A-Tech classes convert the untapped potential of your new hires into money-making mechanical specialists. Autotech's higher-level tech update classes introduce specialists to the world of ever-changing technologies, which prevents your shop from getting technologically stagnant. Remember, if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. And turning to the front of the store, the Autotech Service Advisor class is an awesome way to hone your client advocate skill set, ultimately benefiting the customer through an improved vehicle repair experience. But it doesn't stop there. Imagine an electric vehicle class that takes your specialist well past the mundane, yet necessary safety topics. Well, it's here. Autotech's EV Ready training is a week-long curriculum that takes participants through a hands-on experience involving hybrids and electric vehicles. The session kicks off with the use of PPE and proper tooling while touching on required OSHA regulations. Then, the students dive into the lab vehicles to gain knowledge of the common high-voltage components on EV and hybrid vehicles and their function. Attendees will be taken on a path exposing them to different electric vehicle manufacturers to compare component form and location. Additionally, information about Level 1 and Level 2 charging systems will be included, along with a quick look at DC to DC charging. The operation and maintenance of subsystems are explored, including the different modes of Tesla operations, and so much more. So what are you waiting for? Commit to taking your business to the next level with NAPA Autotech training. And we get to talking, well, now kind of a group of us. A couple of the other techs are standing in the circle of trust, and we're talking. And I guess we all assumed that he was thinking about this as a career. So we're talking about the pathways to getting to be a mechanical specialist, technical specialist, whatever, a master tech. And we're talking about schools and schooling and all that. And I'm a big proponent of, if you can find a good program, great. Might be more important to find a really good shop. I don't want to imply the shop I work at is really good at developing people yet. I think if you're of a certain level, then that answer is probably yes, we are. Below that, I think we have a lot of room for improvement. I mean, but it still doesn't take away from my firm belief that that can be a life-changing thing to find that shop that lets you develop. Not that we're all educators, we aren't, but helping find the way to let you learn, whether that is showing you how to do something, how it is to maybe it's to watch you actually perform the task and letting you learn on the fly, actually involved, whatever that may be. It really turned out, I don't think the kid was really thinking about this as a career. Literally, he was looking to try to get the better part of a decade of experience, granted, probably in evenings or weekends, in a few hours. It was impossible. And it got me thinking, especially as we're talking about the schooling aspect of this, that a lot of these programs, they're a year and a half, 18 months, some of them 24 months. I think we are asking them because I don't know that there's been much of a push. And maybe we, as the profession, really don't have the clout or the pull to have the duration of these programs expanded. But I'm thinking about this. I mean, 18 months, 24 months to take someone like him. And I'm not trying to say he's like a freaking moron. He's wildly inexperienced, especially compared to a lot of us, wildly inexperienced. And we have to take somebody like that from what we would consider common sense, simple shop safety to this is a screwdriver. I don't want, that probably sounded really condescending. I honestly don't mean it that way. It's just, I think, a matter of fact, this is a screwdriver. They have varieties, flathead, Phillips, I suppose, Torx, whatever other variations. This is a ratchet. This is an impact. And on. I think about all the tools we just take for granted. This is a spanner. This is a box end. And that's just hand tools. We're not talking about anything with the car yet. And then we got to talk about the car and just the variation of the scope of what's all on a vehicle with, of course, the mechanical portions and whatever, from tires to brakes to steering and suspension to chassis to now the powertrain. We're talking about people that they're not sure why the lawnmower works, and assuming like a push mower, or if they have a mini bike or motorcycle or snowmobile, they put gas in it and it goes, and that's about what they know. And maybe mom, dad, neighbor, uncle, depending on the engine, right, checks the oil or makes sure that the mix is right. Maybe they're told you only put gas out of this can in there. If you don't have to worry about riding this anymore, and we're not getting a new one. I think I don't want to imply that's the easy stuff. It's not. If you're going to be the mechanical specialist or even the technical specialist and you're going to do troubleshooting, you have to know how things are supposed to work. And if you don't have a good grasp of it, troubleshooting, diagnostics becomes difficult. And we haven't even gone into the realm of electricity and electronics and how these systems all work together and what they do when they don't work. And then the nuances of the vehicle or the platform or this engine design. Think about what it takes for an understanding of a engine platform that idles perfectly, misfires under light load, light acceleration, and is fine at wide open throttle. And I'm thinking older vehicle, and I'm not trying to be tricky here, I guess. I'm not trying to have you guys guess what's wrong with the engine. I'll tell you what's wrong with it. The EGR passages are plugged, except for one. One passage is fine. So one cylinder is getting a lot of EGR, the others aren't getting any. This is a problem on multiple car lines. Think about what you have to know to get there on your own. No database. And we're trying to do this all in 18 months, 24 months. I went to a 2-year program and then another year that was strictly electrical and domestic drivability. And I still didn't know what the heck I was doing. I invented a new word too, helk. I didn't know what I was doing. I was much stronger coming out of that 3rd year. Like I had a really good grasp of voltage drop and resistance and current. Resistance goes up, current goes down. And that immediately thrust me into the top tier of at least troubleshooters, if you will, in my geographic region. That was 3 years. And I feel like I had a pretty decent mechanical background. We're asking an awful lot of our education system, specifically trade school, technical college, to essentially take somebody a very novice level of mechanical aptitude, especially aptitude and also experience on automobiles, and have them leave at any level of competency. That is a big ask. So I feel like the answer has some nuance. Like, right, the colleges or the programs are going to have the potential to go longer. They're going to have the potential of going 3, maybe even 4 years. Now, could somebody get fast tracked? Somebody that comes from a background of family, friends, whatever, owned a shop, they grew up around it, or they're just particularly bright in automotive technology, if you will, where, maybe they could graduate in 18 months, 24 months. But somebody else, they have the ability to go for 36, maybe even 48. I suppose it wouldn't technically be quite that long, right? Usually it's a few months off for the summer, so it wouldn't be quite that long, but still. And then even still, the shops making use of resources that for sure NAPA AutoCare or NAPA Autotech training has available. And it might actually be part of a repair shop tomorrow. There's programs. I know NAPA has it. I'm pretty sure there's other vendors out there that also have kind of a path that the shop can put into place so that they feel a little more comfortable about what they're doing and working with the school. And I guess I'll take a shot at some of the schools. Certainly not all of them, but some of them. You seem to really play to the dealers, and I'm guessing that's where the money and the donated cars are all coming for. So you feel like you owe it to them. But the indie shops, a lot of times they used to get all the scraps, not the scraps like the junk, but somebody went through the ringer at the dealership and hated it, and then they still wanted to fix cars. They ended up in an indie shop, and that worked. It wasn't maybe the greatest path, but it was there and it worked. A lot of these kids, they go to the dealer when they're done. They're done. They're out of the industry. Yeah, if we toss us a bone here or there with some quality candidates, and then, as shops, we have to rise to the occasion and make it worth their while. And I'm not talking just salaries and stuff, compensation. I'm talking about giving them the opportunity to succeed. It's really just an uphill battle for both sides. Really, the answer is the best we can work together and try to recruit this talent, find people with the capacity, right? Because they're probably not coming in with the experience. It's just not. We don't live in that world. So do they have the capacity to pick this stuff up? And our timelines are probably going to be skewed later in life. I don't know how many years ago, I guess 30 years ago, 40 years ago for sure, 30, 25, 20. The crop of people, and usually it was younger, right? Young people coming out of high school, looking for a career. They had a background. A lot of them had a background. They loved cars, and not just the freedom of it, but also the cars themselves. They were looking into the performance type stuff. Not that everybody owned sports cars, but they probably had an interest in racing. They probably had an interest in what their car could do, where now it's really just a means to get transportation. And the important thing is that, of course, it starts and runs, but fuel economy, and their phone can connect to it. That's what's important. And so having somebody coming in relatively young, whether they're going to some sort of a education program for automotive repair or not, they probably had some sort of a background. So they were 18, 19, 20 years old and already ready to do a fair number of tasks around the shop with relatively little supervision. And that's gone. The timeline's getting shoved, and it's going to be what you were expecting somebody, or I don't know if expecting is the right word, but definitely had witnessed more commonly out of an 18, 19, 20-year-old. That's not going to be the case. They're going to be in their mid-20s because they have a lot of catching up to do. Stuff we that grew up in that environment just take for granted. You just take for granted how much stuff you learned holding that stupid flashlight wrong or trouble light, running to fetch those wrenches, maybe once in a while getting to hold the wrench while they use the ratchet on the other end, and then being given little tasks. We took that for granted. Now they can't possibly get that until they're probably either employed by you or they've started to do a little bit of it in school, but it's just not the same. It's not the same. And I think even from a purely human learning process, the way you learned holding the light for whoever probably registers much better and sticks than sitting in a couple hour lecture, an hour lecture, and then going out into the shop for the hands-on portion and doing it once or twice. Yeah, I mean, it would be easy to say we have to let go of our expectations. I suppose that'd be a really therapeutic way, but they have to be altered. They have to be. And we have to get more involved with the local colleges, trying to get on those advisory boards. And I guess I'm thinking we need to start really reconsidering how long these programs are. I just don't know if 18 months or 24 months is enough time to take somebody that just has not had the opportunity to learn the basics, the basics. They just haven't had that opportunity. That's not the world they grew up in, to learn all that. And, oh, by the way, all the other stuff on the car. And I think when you bring in young people like that, a job shadow, if you're paying attention, it starts to become almost overwhelming just how much stuff your people know. You don't even think twice about it. It's everyday life. It's just the way it is. We do what we do. And you never think twice about how you learned it, when you learned it, where you learned it, and that you know it. And you know it just almost instinctually. And then these people that have had no, I hate to say training, but really no experience of that. They can't possibly know. And even though they're wearing the uniform and they're on the payroll, they just can't be expected to know it. It reminds me of when I enrolled. I hadn't even taken a class yet. I enrolled in the automotive technology program for my 2-year. People found out I enrolled, and already they're asking me car questions like I would know. Now somebody's got the uniform on, and yeah, okay, Joe Blow on the street sees somebody wearing a uniform, they're going to assume they know some stuff. But internal to the shop, if we don't alter those expectations, it just leads to frustration, and that frustration leads to alienation. It's really what happens. So that is how I'll leave you, feeling alienated. But I would strongly encourage you to try to get super novice people in through the door to job shadow, to give them tours of the shop, show them around, see if they'll hang out, and one, appreciate what you know, what your people know, and what it will take to get to where they're at or you're at. And then how do we help make that happen? And what's a reasonable timeline? It should really get you thinking. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much to our sponsor, NAPA Autotech Training. If you have any ideas for future episodes, want to be on the podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can email me at mattfonslowpodcast@gmail.com. And thank you to the Aftermarket Radio Network. And until next time, take care.
You've been listening to Matt Fanslow, diagnosing the aftermarket A to Z on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Follow Matt on your favorite listening app. He's very interested in what you have to say. Let him know what you'd like him to cover and come on the show. Matt is all for advancing the aftermarket. Find Matt Fanslow on social media and connect or on aftermarketradionetwork.com.